Hello everyone, and welcome to this Unity tutorial where we are going to learn how to flip your character back and forth when you are moving left and right inside of Unity. You can see here that I have a sample scene set up with ground objects and a player. You can see that if I zoom in inside this player that I have eyes so that we can see that my player is moving left and right and switching when he is moving left and right. And then my player also has a player controller script on it. This player controller script is the same script in my video on how to create 2D movement inside of Unity, and if you haven't watched that, I would recommend you go watch that before you watch this tutorial. So let's go into the script. Inside our script, your script should look something like mine. If yours doesn't look exactly like mine, that's okay. And right up at the top, we're going to have to create a few more variables. The first one's going to be a private Boolean, and we're going to name this isRight, and I'm going to set this to be true initially, but if your character is facing to the left initially, you would set this to false. Next, we're going to create a private float, and this is going to be local scale x, and then we're going to get the start method back up by just typing void start, and then we're going to get this Unity start method up, and then we're going to set local scale x to be equal to our transform dot local scale dot x. And this is just how our character is stretched on the y-axis. And if we set this to a negative number, our character will flip. So this is going to be how we are going to make our character flip. Right here, after the update, we're going to create a private void, and we're going to name this flip character. And then inside of this method, we are going to first set isRight to be true or false if we are moving left and right. So first we need to check if our rigid body 2D dot velocity is not equal to 0. So if we are moving, and it's giving us an error right here because we have to do rigid body 2D.velocity.x is equal to 0. So if we are moving on the x-axis, then we're going to be able to change our isRight to be true or false. So first, we're going to get another if statement. This one's going to be if we are already right and our rigid body 2D.velocity.x is less than 0. So if we are right and we're moving left, we're going to set isRight to be equal to false. But if that's not true, so else if not isRight, so isRight is equal to false, and our rigid body 2D.velocity.x is greater than 0, so if we're moving right and we're not right already, we're going to set isRight to be equal to true. Now that we have this, we're going to set our player to be looking left or right if they are actually left and right. So now we're going to do another if statement. If isRight, then we are going to actually just keep our player as it is. So we're going to get our transform.local scale, set this equal to a new vector 3, and then this vector 3, it's going to just be the same exact thing that it used to be. So for the x, it's just going to be transform.localscale.x. For the y, it's just going to be transform.localscale.y. And then for the z-axis, it's going to be transform.localscale.z. And this just keeps our player as it is when we are looking to the right. And then after this, we're just going to set isRight to be equal to true, just so we can be good and keep this as isRight before we go iterate through this flip character again. We're going to do an else statement, else if not isRight. So if we are looking left, what we're going to do is we're going to change this transform.localscale.x and make it a negative. So what we can do is we can just copy this line and paste it over to here. Instead, we have to take this line out and we have to put our local scale x and then this is the variable that we had up here in the start method, but instead of just having the regular, we're going to inverse it so that our player flips. And then after this, we're going to set isRight to be equal to false. But before we go into the Unity editor, it seems we've made a mistake actually. We should need to change this line, the transform.localScale.x, to be our local scale x. If we kept this line as the regular line, then it would always be looking to the left because it would keep our local scale at the same thing when it is being inversed. But now that that is fixed, we can go into the Unity editor. Once we're inside of the Unity editor, there's nothing we need to do, so we can just click the play button to see our code. Once we're inside of play mode, you can see that my player is looking right now, like the eyes are right there, and if I click the left button, you can see that my character flipped, so that his eyes are moving back and forth. So I can traverse through this level with my player moving back and forth. It is kind of boring here to look at with my square and these eyes because you can't really see it that well, but if you have a real asset with art or pixel art or something like that, then it will look much nicer and it will be polished so that you can play your game and it will look much nicer than it did before. And with that, our tutorial on how to flip our character is finished. If you like this tutorial, please give our channel a like and a subscribe because it really helps out a ton.